This is something that only my friends on Patreon know about. But people who read the paper on a very specific day in late 2016, I think, also knew because I was on the front page because of it. So
Oh wow!
my
Okay, I'm so excited.
Yeah, so I went to, evangelical Christian school. We had a large cafeteria, and the way that our meal plans worked is, in your tuition, you have to purchase a meal plan if you live on campus. So that meant that everyone paid in a specific amount of money. You could either spend that money by going to the cafeteria and eating there, like during the regular meal times, and you can spend it by buying things at like coffee shops and like little burrito stands and stuff we had around the campus. So we all had this meal plan money, and part of it is what we called flex cash. That's the coffee and burrito money. A lot of people were like me, and they don't drink coffee, they don't really go and get all these like extra things. They eat at their meal times, and so their flex cash was just like $1,000 just sitting there doing absolutely nothing at the end of the semester. And so a lot of the time what we would do is like go to these places and buy like 100 burritos and then go there and like throw them at people around campus, just completely wasting the food. And there were traditions about this on campus. We got apples and threw them at certain buildings. It was fun. But I thought one day, like, we're literally getting this food and throwing it at each other, or just like stuffing ourselves needlessly during finals week, when we have a homelessness epidemic, horrible crisis in the city. Like, maybe me and my friends could buy a bunch of food and we could just drive it into the places like downtown where there are more homeless people, and just give them pizza or burritos or whatever. And I thought, like, there's got to be a better way to deliver it to more people than that. So I started looking into different organizations, like nonprofits in the area that dealt with homelessness, that my university was connected to. And I found one, and I was like, okay, like they serve hundreds of people. They have tons of beds. They have a massive freezer that can fit tons and tons and tons of food, and they're in need of some very specific food items. So I talked to the homeless shelter. They told me what they needed, and then I I think you could probably tell I was in my senior year here, and I kind of knew what I was doing. Like, I had some service project experience, and I was pretty confident in the way that I carried myself. And I realized that the money at the end of the semester that we were just wasting or we weren't spending was going to someone. And I figured that was probably the cafeteria, the catering company. And let's be realistic, it's not going to the workers that are like making our food every day. They're paid an hourly wage. It's going to the top people, right? Like, it's going to their CEO, it's going to their managers. They're getting Christmas bonuses and all this they don't even need. And I was like, they're not going to want to give this up. But if I can convince them that they will look really good without actually losing very much of this money, then maybe I can trick them into into allowing me to have a sign-up sheet that they have legally signed to allow me to do this, where students can walk into the cafeteria. I have a booth, and the student comes up, and I'm like, hey, you can give your flex money here, and we're going to donate it to such and such mission so that they can buy food for their people at the shelter. And like, it sounds obvious, like there's a lot of students that are going to do this. It's going to be thousands of dollars. It did end up being over $8,000. But I didn't want the cafeteria people to realize how big it was going to be. So I would like schedule a meeting where I purposely misspelled things in the email, like with the manager of the cafeteria, and be like, hey, like, I have never really done this kind of thing before, but can I have like a meeting with you? And then I'd show up like a little bit late to look like an amateur, that wasn't really serious. And then I would like purposely make my voice high pitched and just act like I had no clue what I was doing, and be like, yeah, so like some of my friends, like, we just want to be able to give like some of the food to the homeless people around. And we just figured, like, we could probably do like a couple $100. Like my dream is to donate $1,000. It would be so crazy. And I would love to be able to say, like, if you help me with this, I'm going to get up in chapel and like thank the cafeteria for doing this. And she's like, all right, like the cafeteria was widely hated and that manager was widely hated on campus. People hated her and her staff hated her too. And so she's like, this looks like good PR. And this kid has no idea what he's doing. So there's no way he's going to raise real money. And so I get her to sign a statement that's like, I'm going to let Drew do this. I table every single day, even get all my friends to like table like anytime the cafeteria is open and when I'm in class, whatever. And we get people to sign over $8,000 worth of this money, which probably would have been mostly going to her and a couple of her buddies. And then I'm like, all right, I got to make sure that the exchange here, there's an exchange of power that goes smoothly here.
Yeah.
And so when she like hands me the check, God, I sound like an asshole. I need witnesses. And so I called the city paper. And I was like, hey, this just happened. And I got like a media rep from my school to back me up that this had happened. And so we got like a reporter there with the camera to photograph the check being handed over. She's like covering her face doing this. And so they didn't use that paper. They didn't use that photo, but they used a photo of me like holding up like my student ID and being like, we just got like $8,000, stolen from our school, basically, or, charitably donated by our school to give to a homeless shelter. And yeah, I mean, when there was a reporter there, she wasn't going to not hand me the check, right?
Yeah.
She was going to look horrible. So that's how I got this person to hand over her Christmas bonus, basically, to a homeless shelter so that we could buy ham for a bunch of homeless people in our area. And the cherry
You're
on
like
top
Robin Hood.
is, yeah. I mean, I think that we bought like over $5,000 worth of ham to put in their freezer. And like me and a bunch of my buddies that did this, they're like, we have too much ham. Can you guys help us load the ham into our freezer? And we're like, yeah, we'll do it.
That's amazing.
And I got to know some of the people at the shelter through doing this. And like, I really liked them. I think that they liked me. And as soon as I graduated, I told them I graduated and they're like, we're going to look for a job for you because we don't want you to work for us. So that is how I got my first job out of college, was by stealing from the people at my school to give to the homeless shelter.
Oh man. So, do you think if you didn't have like the reporters and everyone there, that she wouldn't have handed over the money, or like,
I don't
or
know.
you're just not sure?
I don't know. It's like, it would have really been against her best judgment to do that. Because even if it's just students saw her do that, like,
Because
it would have been
you like
bad.
downplayed it, so it made it seem like it was only going to be like a couple $100, maybe $1,000, and
Yeah.
then you kind of had all these signatures essentially, and you're like, this is how much we need.
Yeah, it's basically, there's this sign up sheet that I present her at the end of the semester. Hey, this is the money that you agreed to take out of your bank account and give to the shelter for food.
Oh,
And
wow.
and so I just remember her seeing the figure and being like, okay, sure. Like the paper, the news journal actually reached out to her for comment about it, and it says in the paper like such and such did not give any comment.